Real Virginia is produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Become a Farm Bureau member today.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the wonderful people who produce the local products we enjoy. This month we explain why the poultry industry is so important to Virginia, plus Andy Hankins shows us how to grow delicious raspberries, and Mark Viette has suggestions on putting a little more color in your garden. Welcome back everyone. We are here at the French family farm. This farm is a fourth-generation family farm that produces everything from beef cattle, dairy, and even poultry. And that's our first story here this month. We're going to talk a little bit about this industry, which produces everything from eggs, chickens, and turkeys, and is crucial to the state's economy.
There are more than 780 chicken and 280 turkey operations in Virginia. The Shenandoah Valley, where the modern poultry industry began, still has the greatest economic impact.
It's huge. They employ 700 or 800 people at this plant. There's probably 40, 50 poultry farmers in this county, maybe even a little bit more than that. So it's been a large part of our farming economy has come from poultry, and it was a great opportunity when this first started.
Virginia's poultry industry contributes nearly $1 billion to the state's economy. It's the largest farm commodity in Virginia agriculture.
There was a study that, it was a number of years ago, but it showed that for every job within the U.S. poultry processing industry, there were 7.2 jobs created outside of the industry. So there are numerous businesses that provide goods and services to the industry that depend on the poultry industry.
The Fisher's operation is a fourth-generation farm in Shenandoah County in the heart of the valley. They have 4 poultry houses, raising more than 110,000 birds at any given time. It takes just over a month to raise a broiler chicken to weight before it's taken for processing. That's a lot of chicken, but the demand for poultry meat keeps growing. In 1992, chicken consumption surpassed beef in the United States.
I've been at this 32 years. So I've seen it go a long ways as far as restriction goes. I can't say that we ever raised anything unhealthy, but the demand on what we have in the field is just unreal compared to what it was 30 years ago.
We need the modern commercial poultry production in order to satisfy the nutritional needs of the vast majority of the people.
Demand for Virginia poultry exports continues to grow. Currently, Virginia farmers raise about 18% of chicken and about 10% of turkey that will be exported overseas. The largest foreign buyers for Virginia poultry are Mexico, Russia, and Hong Kong. With such a strong market share, the future of Virginia's poultry industry and farmers looks bright.
Shenandoah County is in the heart of the Shenandoah Valley, once called the breadbasket of the Confederacy because its farmers were so productive in the mid-1800s. It's the 5th largest farm county in Virginia, with farm income of more than $101 million coming from 1,043 farms. Hay is the top crop, followed by corn for grain, soybeans, and wheat. Shenandoah County farmers also raise almost 44,000 head of beef cattle and dairy cows, while farmers earn $66 million from producing turkeys, chickens, and eggs on 61 farms in Shenandoah County.
If you're looking to boost your garden, perhaps all it needs is a little color. Mark Viette has some tips in the garden.
You can find color in the spring, summer, fall, even in the winter. And around the time that your viburnums come into bloom with that beautiful fragrance, there are some other plants that you can plant around them, and that includes the Lenten rose, Christmas rose, or Helleborus. And this one here is just beautiful, which is known as pink frost with the beautiful dark foliage. There's another variety right here known as Winter's Bliss, and just look at the color and brightness you can have. Now these are bright shade plants and they're long-lived. Some of them reseed year after year. In addition to the spring blooming Helleborus, you've got the great pulmonarias. They're also known as lungworts because they have spots on the leaves. And these plants I've just talked about here, the Helleborus especially, is a great deer-resistant plant. I almost call it deer-proof, so it has other advantages, but it's a great ground cover plant. Color can be added to the garden in a variety of ways. One way is to use foliage, and foliage can change. You know, you've got blue spruce, then you've also got some of your arborvitaes, and during the winter months your arborvitaes are going to change to a darker color, and then you've got very soft textures. So when you're looking in the garden, add some of these things, and with foliage that brighten up some of those places. It is important that you give your evergreens plenty of room. Some of these are dwarfs, some won't get big, but some of these evergreens can get 40 feet tall. One of my favorite evergreens to use instead of Leyland cypress is the Gold Rider Leyland cypress. And this is a great plant, and it gets only about 15 to 20 feet tall and maybe only 15 feet wide as opposed to 40 feet by 30 feet. So it's Gold Rider Leyland cypress. Look at this great color. Pansies and violas can be planted in the fall, sometimes even in the warm winter, even in the spring. So remember, there's plants that you can use, even including annuals during the summer. Just imagine beautiful coleus planted in the garden and in your containers. Always, mass or mass of color, as you see behind me here, really gives you a lot of impact in a garden. But just imagine you creating your own little place just like this, sitting in these chairs in the evening and just enjoying all the color that abounds around you. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.
Up next on Real Virginia, Kendra Bailey Morris has a terrific barbecue recipe for us in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Andy Hankins. Today on From the Ground Up, we're going to be talking about growing raspberries in the home garden. Stay with us.
I was born and raised on a dairy farm in western Rockingham County here in the Shenandoah Valley. Well, the barn here is a wheat cover barn, but it's a loose housing compost barn. The large fans that are in the barn are 24 feet in diameter, so it's blowing the heat and humidity off the cows and keeping the cows very comfortable. When we built the barn and first put the cows in it, we saw the milk increase 3 to 4 pounds a cow a day. Anytime you have a comfortable cow, you always have a clean, wholesome environment. And the better the environment is for the cow, the better the quality of the milk. The more comfortable we can keep the cows, the better we can treat the cows, the better they will treat us as far as milk production, putting more milk in the tank. I'm Gerald Heatwell, a third-generation dairy farmer from Virginia, and I'm dedicated to dairy, our cows, our milk, and our land.
We put a new twist on barbecue ribs with Kendra Bailey Morris in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Kendra Bailey Morris, and we are here in Sir Latab's amazing kitchen here in Richmond, Virginia. And today I'm going to be making a wonderful rib recipe. It's a little bit different than probably what you're used to. We're going to do a classic grilled ribs, which starts with a dry rub, and then we're going to make something really special, and it's a sauce that I've been playing with. It's a raspberry sorghum barbecue sauce. So we're going to start with some salt and some pepper. And then I've got some onion powder here. Again, you can use any mixture. You could use dried onion. You could even use some fresh onion. Brown sugar, which will help have a really nice glaze and balance out some of the heat that we're going to add in chilies. Chili powder, and this is a chili powder mixture. And I like to add a little bit of cayenne. Balance out the sweetness of the brown sugar, and some dry mustard. And I'm just really going to rub it on thick here, believe it or not. I'm going to cut this on here. So here's our dry rub all ready to go. I'm just going to press it in there really, 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 really good. Get up in there. And what I'm going to do now, since I don't have a smoker, obviously, typically, when you make ribs, they're done in a smoker, slow, smoked, low and slow as the term goes when it comes to barbecue. I'm going to do a method that I've used quite a bit, and my mother actually taught me how to do, which is to cover it really tightly in foil, and then you're going to roast it in the oven. I'm going to do it about 3 or 4 hours at 275. And you get almost the same effect as you would if you were doing it with a slow smoker. So here we go. I'm going to put these in. Thanks to the magic of television, we have one already finished. And this is what you're going to be looking at about several hours later. You want them to have a little bit of a bite and a little bit of tenderness to them, but also you would like to be sure and be able to pick them up with tongs so you can flip them on the grill without any problems. Now this is a really, really, really simple sauce. It's easy to do, and you're using fresh berries. If you want to use blackberries, you can use blackberries. If you want to use black raspberries, you can do that. I'm using red raspberries, which I think add a really nice tartness and sweetness to this. And what we're going to do is start by adding all of these ingredients to a food processor or a blender, works just as well. We have raspberries, and then we're going to add some garlic as well. So I'm going to chop up a little bit more of this garlic. So we're going to add in some garlic. And next we're going to add some onion, and I'm using one small sweet onion. Vidalia onions would be perfect in this. Now these are ready to go in. So we've added our onion, and the next item we're going to add is a pretty good amount of brown sugar. I've got about 1/2 cup of just regular brown sugar, light brown sugar, packed. I'm going to add that in. And then my favorite ingredient, sorghum. And sorghum is very similar to molasses, so if you can't find sorghum, you can always use just regular black molasses, dark molasses, light molasses, corn syrup if you can't find that. The concept is you want something really sweet. And sorghum is basically very similar to molasses in that it comes from a sugar cane, and it's basically the sweetness and sugar and liquid is squeezed out of it. So we've got our sorghum in there, and now I'm going to add some ketchup because you can't have a barbecue sauce without ketchup. And I've got a little cider vinegar, and that's just to balance out all of the sweetness that we've got going on in here. It's about 1 tablespoon. And next we're going to add some ground ginger and some hot pepper, and that just balances out really nicely the sweetness. And then you're just going to puree this up. There we go. And we're going to put this in a pan, and we're going to cook it for about 30 minutes or so. Now, an option with this is also to strain the seeds out of it if you want to at some point. That's totally up to you. So I'm going to put our sauce on the stove. It's going to cook for 30 minutes, and we'll be right back in just a moment. So here we have our finished sauce, and it's cooked down really, really beautifully. And what I'm going to do now is basically give this a slather. And I'm just going to give it a light coating for now, because as it cooks on the grill, which I'm going to put it on this grill over here, it will caramelize, and I will add some other layers of the sauce. So I'm going to lay this down on the grill. You can really hear that. And as this cooks, I will continue to baste it. And you want to watch it real carefully when it's on the grill, because you're working with a lot of sugars. You've got brown sugar and the sorghum in there, and you want to make sure that it doesn't burn. So I would say give it about maybe 5 minutes on each side. So I'm going to take it off the grill. And I'm basically just going to cut through and plate these up. Obviously, any additional sauce you can serve on the side, or just do a little extra for brushing. You can't go wrong with that. And there you have it, barbecue ribs with a sorghum raspberry sauce. Try it this summer, you'll like it. So for Heart of the Home, I'm Kendra Bailey Morris. Let's get cooking.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafarmbureau.org.
Pork production is a vital part of our nation's economy. In 2007, there were nearly 35,000 people working in the pork industry. It adds about $34.5 billion a year to the country's gross national product. Pork is also important to Virginia's farm economy. Virginia has about 1,240 hog farmers generating more than $55.5 million in sales. More than 10,000 people are employed in the pork industry in Virginia.
Local foods and good nutrition are a major consumer trend right now, and that's why the Virginia Master Food Volunteer Program is trying to teach folks how to not only prepare local foods, but preserve it as well, and teach them to eat a little bit better while they're at it.
Seems like you can't pick up a magazine or watch a television talk show these days without the topic of food coming up. But everyone has an opinion on what foods are healthy. Where can you go for unbiased nutrition advice? A new cooperative extension program is making it easier than ever for consumers to learn about good nutrition and local foods.
Our Master Food Volunteers do all sorts of nutrition-related work, from something simple like coming to a fair and just being a positive force for nutrition. They also teach classes on food preservation. We have some more educated and knowledgeable volunteers that are trained in nutrition that are actually teaching people about making individual changes for high blood pressure, for diabetes.
Katie Strong is a family and consumer sciences agent with Cooperative Extension serving Fairfax and Arlington counties. She's also a registered dietitian, and one of her roles is training Master Food volunteers. She says with the right knowledge, you can make healthy food choices even at a festival.
On the left, we have Italian options, and I see there's the mozzarella caprese. Obviously a healthy choice. You've got the big fresh ripe tomato, the fresh green basil. And then just past there, we've got the Mexican stand, guacamole with that avocado, that good fat, with chips, as long as you keep that in moderation. You can also get some chicken taco. So there's really a lot of options.
That's the type of knowledge many consumers simply don't have. The Master Food Volunteer Program is basically an educational outreach program, and Strong says it's particularly important for low-income consumers and new immigrants. Diane Blust is a volunteer as well as a manager of 2 local farmers markets, and she says the growing local foods movement has really boosted interest in better nutrition.
I know that people are really seriously concerned about what they put in their bodies, and so if they can talk to the farmer who's produced that food, they have some answers rather than going to the grocery store and buying something that may have come 1,500 miles to get to their plate.
Master Food volunteers receive training from nutritionists like Strong before they go out into their communities. In exchange for that education, they commit to volunteering 30 hours a year. Strong says they have a really important role in public health education.
Master Food volunteers are really important to addressing the obesity epidemic because they're teaching people the skills that they need to eat healthier foods. They're teaching them how to cook in their own homes, how to make healthier choices when they go out to eat, and to be a positive influence to people around them.
If you're interested in becoming a Master Food volunteer, contact your local Cooperative Extension office and they'll get you started. In Fairfax County, Virginia, I'm Norm High.
My journey into dairying began back when I was a child growing up on the farm in Maryland. I love being a dairy farmer because it's an adventure to be a dairy farmer. It's a new beginning every day. A lot of people drive by my dairy farm and they recognize it as being a dairy, but they didn't really recognize it as a product until I built the dairy and ice cream store. And when we built that, people associated the ice cream and the milk to this dairy farm.
It's a huge responsibility that we have being farmers, and we're proud to be able to do it.
Every day we have the opportunity to provide a wholesome product that's vitamin rich and nutrient full. We are very fortunate to be able to raise our families in such a wonderful environment. I am Ken Smith, a 4th generation dairy farmer from the state of Virginia. And I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, and my land.
Raspberries are easy to grow in a home garden. Our Virginia Cooperative Extension Specialist Andy Hankins shows us how to do that from the ground up.
Let's meet Chris Mullins, Extension Specialist here at Virginia State University. Please tell us about the raspberry project at Randolph Farm.
Sure, thanks Andy. We're glad you could be here today. We're in a high tunnel greenhouse. We're growing raspberries, and this is a project that's led by Dr. Reza Rafi. I'm on it, and a few other people at VSU are on this project.
Well, what is this structure that we're looking at?
Well, these raspberries and blackberries also, they grow canes, and they'll quickly fall over if they're not supported. And you can see here we have a few things that would help support them. This is a trellis system, and this could be easily built by somebody in their backyard. We have a post that's an 8-foot tall post that we sink in the ground 2 feet that provides the support at the end of each row. And on that, we have some 2x4s that we've nailed into that post. Now this is called a V trellis system. So if you'll notice, it kind of shapes like a V. At the bottom, the 2x4s are shorter in length than the 1-2 at the top. And so that provides a V shape that helps to...
that could hold up a heavy load of fruit.
Hold up a heavy load of fruit. And on these 2x4s, we've got some high tensile wire with a little ratcheting device. And that allows us to ratchet up and tighten this wire up so that it'll hold a load, because like you said, it's a heavy load of fruit when they're producing. And this device holds the cane in place, so it keeps it from moving around and falling down. A home gardener could use something like this, or they could just use a sandwich tie to loosely tie the cane onto the wire.
Chris, I see some black tubing on the ground. What is this material for?
Well, that's our irrigation tubing. No matter what you're growing, you need some irrigation for your plants. And this is a kind of a special way of irrigating. This is a drip irrigation system, and it puts all the water at the plant root zone, as opposed to an overhead irrigation system, which would water this whole area and get all the leaves wet. So there's a definite advantage there to using this type of drip system. It keeps the free water off the leaves, so that reduces diseases, but it also is very efficient in the way it uses water. And this irrigation system is essential when you're first planting the plants and starting them. They really need that water to grow roots and become established. As the roots grow down, it's not as necessary.
I noticed the raspberry plants at that end were loaded with fruit, and this vine is just starting to have some green raspberries. Are there differences in raspberry varieties?
There are, Andy, and these are red raspberries, but you'll notice, like you mentioned, these are much later maturing than the ones we saw earlier. This one's a polka. Also, varieties that are common are Heritage and Caroline and Autumn Britain. So a home gardener could find these at their local garden center, home store, and just buy them and transplant them in the ground, probably about mid-April, and put them within the row. They probably need to be spaced about 2 feet apart within the row. And if you're going to, it's best to plant in a single row, but if you put 2 rows beside each other, I'd put those rows at least 7 or 8 feet apart.
And how much yield could we expect from a 20-foot row of raspberries?
Probably on a 20-foot row of raspberries, probably around 3 pints of raspberries in the for the growing season.
Thanks for showing us about the raspberry project here at Virginia State University, Chris. For more information about raspberry production, contact your local Virginia Cooperative Extension office. This is Andy Hankins. I'll see you next time on From the Ground Up.
That's going to do it for this episode of Real Virginia. We are so glad you got to join us. Whether it's in your home, your garden, or even your landscape, we're so proud to be able to say this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good month.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay.